Okay guys, so today we're making this. I decided that I needed a new lunchbox for my car, and I have something similar, but it's kind of blah. It's a blue one and doesn't have any character to it, and I really wanted to use that print that I just got yesterday, and I said, why not do a tutorial on it? You only need, for pattern, it's just a square. So I hope you like the tutorial. Bye guys. So for this tutorial, we're going to be needing 4 squares that measure 12 inches wide by 10.5 tall. So your squares are going to measure 12 by 10.5. And you're going to need 4 because you're going to need 2 of your outer piece. In this case, I have this one. And 2 for your lining. Okay? That will be the basics. But because this is going to be a lunch box for me, or like something to carry my lunch, I'm going to add a layer of batting, and I'm going to add a layer of this material that reflects, like this is supposed to keep it cold inside. Can't remember what's the name of this material, but I will find out and I will put it in the link box on the description thing. If you don't see it right away, it's because I'm trying to find it out after posting the video, and it might take me a while to add it in that description, but you can check later on. But this is like a, oh my goodness, forgot the name. So I'm gonna do 2, like a layer of batting, quilting batting, and that layer. And again, I'm gonna cut that, I'm gonna be sewing this at 3/8 of an inch. So I cut it 3/8 of an inch shorter on the sides and on the bottom, and on the top I did a little bit more, like 1/2 inch, because this is what I'm going to put my zipper, and I want it to be clear of that completely. So on my square, before I cut this batting thing, I made sure I did my cut my boxes here, and that's to give the pouch some dimension, some like depth in the, like this is going to box my pouch on the bottom. So these measures 2 by 2. The way you do these, you take your piece, imagine this is my bottom, imagine this is completely, it's not cut, and I'm going to do my boxes for the first time. I'm going to measure 2 by 2 here, and I'm going to put it right there. So from this point, which it marks my 2 inch, so I have 2 inches from this point to this point and 2 inches from this point to this point. So making a nice square. So I mark that with a pencil. And there I have my 2 by 2 inch square, and then cut it out. But I did that already, so we're not, you got to make sure when you do that, you have your fabric. If it's directional, you want those on the bottom. Those are going to be on the bottom of your fabric. Okay? So your square is going to measure 12 inches by 10.5. Okay? So that's to give you, so you can know where you going to put those squares on the bottom. Okay? So after I did that, then I cut my lining, my batting and my reflective piece, and I cut it exactly the same size, and then I trim out to have it like that. Okay, so you're gonna need those, the 2 outer, the 2 lining, and your batting and your reflective thing. The reason I'm using the batting is because I want to quilt it. You can do this without the batting, and you can do it with no trouble at all. So, but I am going to quilt it So I added it. You're also gonna need a zipper that measures 10.5 inches long. 10.5 inches long. You're gonna need another piece of zipper that measures 5 inches long. Yep, this is 5 inches long. You're gonna need 2 zipper pulls. And your label, if you're gonna put a label on it. And you're gonna need 2 pieces of vinyl or fabric, whatever is it that you're gonna use to cover those zipper ends. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna be using vinyl. So I have 2 pieces, and they can be bigger. It's fine. We'll trim that later on. Okay, and you're gonna need your straps. Your straps are gonna measure 18 inches by 2 1/4, and that's because I'm going to have my straps be like 3/4 of an inch wide for my pouch, so that's why I cut it that way. But if you want them to be 1 inch, you have 2 options. You can cut the strap 3 inches wide and fold it, and that gives you 1 inch. Or you can cut it 4 inches wide, depending if you're using fabric and you're not using vinyl. You can cut it 4 inches wide, and then you will fold in the middle, meet the middle fold, and then fold again, like you're folding 4 times, and that will give you also a 1 inch strap. Okay, so depending on the material that you're gonna use is how wide you're gonna cut your strap. But these ones are 2 1/4 by 18 inches long. So that's what I'm gonna be using. And that's pretty, oh, and also you're gonna need, because I'm planning on putting a zipper in the front for my fork and my whatever it is that I'm going to be using to eat. So I cut a piece that is roughly 6 inches by 10 inches long. I probably will trim this, okay? But you just got to make sure it is smaller than your pouch piece, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and start making it, and then at the end, like I do in the other video, I'm gonna give you kind of how I thought about it, like my thought process on the bag. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is my strap. I don't know if you can notice from there, but I have like a black edge in here, and that's like I use some edge cut to cover my edge, because this white shows and I'm gonna have a raw edge and I don't want that to show on my strap. So I use some of these and apply it on my border. So I'm just going to fold once and twice, and I'm gonna be clipping this. And make sure kind of like I go further than the middle of the thing and fold it, making sure I can feel that edge in there. Kind of roll it and clip it in place. And I make sure my edge on the other side, my raw edge that's going to be showing, is right along that fold. So and after we have our handle clipped, I'm having my top stitch to be 4.5 inches. I really like the 4.5 setting, not inches. The stitch length is at 4. I had in here a little trouble with the stitch that jumped. I have a jump stitch in there. I'm going to show you how I fixed that. Because sometimes we have stitches that jump, and it's not pleasant to see them. And then it's also not pleasant to have that back and forth to go, to go back to try to reinforce that. So I'm going to show you what I do when I had that little trouble. Again, this is for me because I'm one of those persons that do my errands and I just have my lunch in my car. Sometimes if I have some more stuff to do, I just have the lunch in my car. So I like to, when I know I'm going to be really busy, I had that little bag in the car with a sandwich or something light that I can eat quickly, and I don't have to spend money buying lunch anywhere else, probably like junk food or stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean by a jump stitch. You can see it clearly there. You see it? Okay, so we're going to fix that. The way I fix that, so I always carry a needle. I have a needle like in one of the magnet things in my machine, and I help myself to some of the thread that my machine has. I'm not going to tie these up. Going to make sure it's long enough. So it's going to be short in one end and it's going to be long on the other one. Okay? And what I do is like I go between my stitch, I'm going to go between here. You see it? Okay, I'm going to go between there and I'm going to go right on the middle of that jump stitch. Usually you can see a little mark because the needle goes down. It's just that for some reason the thread doesn't catch. Okay, so I'm going to get my thread up until I have one end out, right? So I'm going to go back in, and this time I'm going to go through the other side because I want my stitch to be nice in both sides. So it's going to go up on that side. Can you see that? So I'm going to pass it through just that short end. Remember, I have my other one where we started in between the two layers. So I'm going to go over that stitch. I'm going to go over this, and I'm going to take out my needle through the middle to meet this other beginning there. And it might seem like a lot of work, but trust me, once you have these, and then you can let go of your needle. Once you have the two threads coming through the middle, then you can let your needle out. So that's why you don't need to do any knots whatsoever when you put your needle in. You're going to do a knot right now. I'm going to do once, I'm going to pull, and twice, and I do 3 times just in case. Pull tight, cut the excess, get your lighter to burn those edges, or those extra little pieces of thread. And there you go. You don't have a jump stitch anymore. And you just save yourself of doing a strap again. So I'm going to do the other strap, and then we're going to come back and continue with the tutorial. So once our straps are done, we're going to quilt the outer pieces. And a little thing that I do before quilting is I find the middle of my pieces. This one, in this case, I fold it in the middle, fold it up. After I did that, then I meet my center fold with the other side, with the side, fold it again to make that crease. And I did the same with this half, made that crease. And then I did half again, but the opposite side to crease it, open it up, meet the center fold, crease it again, and do the same thing with the bottom, okay? And that gave me, this side you can see it better, but that gave me like a guideline that I can follow through to do my quilting. If you feel more comfortable spraying these, I don't have my spray here, so I'm just going to wing it. Going to position this batting where I want it. The reason I added the batting is because I really want it to feel like, kind of like super quilt. I don't know if that's a term, but I wanted an extra quilt. I don't know, gonna be honest here, I don't know if this reflected thing, it's gonna work if I'm like quilting the hell out of it, but I guess I will know. This is an experiment, and I'll let you know. So if it doesn't keep my stuff cool down, then I guess I should not be perforating this that much. But I have a feeling that it's gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna quilt this. I'm just holding my pieces in place and following that fold as my guideline. It's not a big deal. We are not going to be quilting every single piece that I do on a video, but it's just I've been going through I want everything quilted phase. So I'm quilting everything that I can. I'm not a quilter. I want to make a few quilts, but I'm not a quilter. So I'm just maybe mentally preparing to start my first one. Who knows? And we're gonna do this one. And I'm just trying to follow that fold as best as I can. It really doesn't need to be extremely perfect. As long as you do a few lines. There's people that like to mark their lines, and that's okay. I just kind of find it quicker if I just do some creasing and follow it. But each person is different, so if you have your own way of quilting things, you can do it your own way, and it's totally okay. I just got this fabric yesterday, and I really wanted to use it in something, and I thought, well, my lunchbox thing is kind of boring. I'm gonna have some Bernie on my lunchbox. So okay. And I'm using a stitch size 3 to do this. I don't know why I like to quilt with a smaller stitch length. I don't know if you prefer a longer stitch. Again, it's something that is up to you. Okay, so there you go. That's my quilting. So once we have these 2 pieces done, we are going to make the zipper pocket in one of them. Okay, so you're going to need only 1 piece of your roughly 6 by 10 pieces. And you see, as long as they are wider than your 5-inch zipper, you should be okay, because you're going to be trimming the excess, but you just want to have a piece that you can work with. I'm going to position it roughly. And we're going to be measuring here, so that way you have a better idea. But this is roughly 1 inch and 3/4. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want my box. It could be 1.5 inch. Okay, I'm going to put my piece 1.5 inch from the side edge that I want my piece to be in. And I eyeball it in the center. You don't have to be very methodical with this. Just make sure it looks straight and it looks kind of the same amount on each side, which for me, it looks like it looks good. And it's 1.5 inch from the side, exactly, okay? So we're gonna mark a box in there. I'm gonna use a longer ruler. I'm gonna go down 3/4 of an inch from the edge of my blue piece. So I'm gonna mark a line there. And then above that line, I don't know if you can see that. Above that line, I'm gonna go again and I'm gonna mark 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch from that line, I'm gonna mark another line. So I have 2 lines in there. Just gonna make sure this is not. And then from the edges, I'm going to mark okay. I'm going to do 1 inch on each side. This pocket, I really want it for, let me use a smaller ruler. This pocket, I really want it for my silverware, for the fork and spoon or whatever it is that I'm gonna put there. It doesn't need to be huge. I just need something to put my stuff in. And it needs to be, okay, so that makes me catch my zipper tape. So that's all I need. So remember that the edge of my lining, the pocket piece, it's 1.5 inches from the edge. Center it as best as you can. Mark 3/4 inches of from the edge of the pocket, 3/4 inches in a line, and then 1/2 inch from that, another line, and then 1 inch on one side, 1 inch on the other side. Okay, so now we're gonna stitch that. I'm not gonna move it that much. We're just gonna do, and again, there is people that account for that. If they're going to put a zipper pocket on a piece that is with batting, they make sure they take the batting out. But I'm winging this thing up, okay? So I'm not even sure if it's going to work, but I guess we'll find out together. If you see this video, it's probably because it worked. So I'm just following that box that I did, making sure I get to my corners. If you're afraid that you're going to pass that line, you can hand turn the wheel thing. So you don't need to be worried about passing it. Let me go back and forth here. I'm going to show you exactly how it looks. So see, some people will account for this, and I guess I will know now. Some people will cut a piece of the batting. So I will find out if that's going to give me trouble or if it's going to be too hard. But this is what we did. So see, the piece is 1.5 inch down. It's pretty much center on this piece. And then it has from the edge, the first line this is 3/4 of an inch. Then from that line to the other line is 1/2 inch. And then from the sides in, it's 1 inch. Okay? Okay. So we're going to do a marking here. There's a lot of people that also don't sew the sides of this. They just do the long lines and they don't do the short lines. If that works for you, again, you can do it that way. But I like to do my whole box with stitches. So we'll see. Just helping myself here. And we'll cut now. So you need to draw a line, kind of like a triangle from the ends in, and then a long line and another triangle. And then you're going to cut that. Making sure you don't cut your lines, your stitching lines. So we're going to go the other way. Again, I'm kind of meeting where my corner is. You got to make sure you go really close, but not past it. Okay, so you're going to have this. You got to make sure you get really close to those corners, but without cutting the stitch. And you're going to put your lining through it. So now is the hard part, or the part that is supposed to be the hardest. But to be honest, it looks good. If you have a domestic machine and you think this is going to be really thick, by all means, cut that. When you're cutting your batting pieces, make sure you account for that zipper encasing that you're going to be making. So that way you don't have all that bulk in there. But because I know I can handle mine, it was easy. So let me put these quick. The zipper pulls. So we can attach that. you're gonna notice that I'm all over the place with these videos. I guess I will need to learn as I go. Okay, this one is kind of stuck in there. Let me do the other one now that I'm here working with it. And here it's like you need to make sure they both go straight, because if not, it's going to be kind of bumpy. Okay, so I have those two. So now that you have that piece that looks like that, we are going to, I want my zipper to close up. So I got to make sure that pull is pointing up. Okay, so it looks like that. I'm gonna move it. For this part, you can also use double-sided tape and tape your zipper in place if you feel more comfortable. I kind of feel comfortable using just my hands. I'm gonna go forward and stitch all the way around my box. And I'll zip that. I can go one more. Again, if you feel like you didn't get to the corner that you wanted, you can hand move that wheel. Close my zipper. One more time. We're almost to the end. There is a neat way of finishing that without having that back stitching in there, but I'm not going to do it because this is a lunchbox for me. But most likely when we do another bag, I'll show you. Okay, so we have our front zipper pocket in there. Well, it's not a pocket yet because it needs the other piece, but it's looking like it, right? Now we're gonna get the other piece. And again, if you cut your piece exactly 6 inches wide, remember that your zipper tape is 5 inches. So you should have an excess here of 1/2 inch on each side. I have a little bit more because mine is roughly 6 inches. But you gotta make sure that you have enough, or it's the same. You can cut even your zipper tape, you can cut it 6 inches and match it to the size of your lining piece. But I'm just trying to save some of my zipper tape. That's why I cut it smaller. But we're gonna now stitch our piece. We're gonna match right sides together. And we're just gonna stitch this. And right now that I can see, I know it's really long. So see, now I'm like pretty much eyeballing this whole thing. I don't want it to be that long, so I'm gonna cut a little bit, just long enough for it to have my oh my goodness, I'm forgetting all the words today. What's up with me? Okay. I'm gonna make sure I go around. And I'm just trying to sew on a straight line. Gonna go almost to the end, but not quite yet. And I'm kind of matching where my zipper ends, so that's pretty much where I'm ending my stitching in there, so I can have a straight okay, let me show you now what I mean. Sorry, my husband just got home and the dogs go crazy. Okay, so see my zipper tape ends there, so I'm just trying to end, like, do the box around where my zipper is, and then I can cut that excess, which I'm gonna do now. There we go. And that's it. Now you have your zipper pocket in there. And I can put how many forks I want, or spoons, or even like a little folded napkin or whatever it is that I want to keep secure in there. So that's pretty much the most complicated part, I think, from this. Now it's like pretty much basic. We are going now to mark. No, before we do that, we're gonna do our zipper ends in here. We're gonna be stitching the right side of our lining piece to the right side of our zipper tape. And we're gonna be stitching at 1/4 inch. If you have cotton, you can fold in your ends for the cotton like that, and then you can fold again and press, iron it, and then you can encase your zipper tape right there. That's if you're using cotton. Okay, as long as you get that edge of the zipper tape all the way to the edge, you should be fine, and then you stitch. But I'm not using cotton in this, it's gonna be super thick. So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna put it down, right sides together. And I'm gonna stitch 1/4 inch. Okay, then I'm going to fold it up like so, and I kind of like to fold it back down. I got to make sure that it's right there on my edge of my zipper tape, so I pretty much fold it like that and hold it like that, and I do a marking on each side. That's why I like to cut it longer. You see those 2 markings? Well, that's gonna help me trim that excess, right? So I'm gonna do exactly the same again, but now I know I'm gonna have enough to top stitch. on the bottom. So I'm going to put it right side up. Position it in there. I do a little back stitching right when I encounter my zipper tape, because I'm going to cut the excess and I don't want my stitches to unravel. So I do a little back stitching here and here. And that way when I cut this, I know my stitches are going to still be secure in there. See? So I will cut now here. And I will cut here. And I know that's not going anywhere. So we're going to do the same for the other side. I cut, 2 pieces, but I think with this one, I have enough for both. Again, to do my stitching, I do size 3. The stitch length is a size 3 on my Yuki 1181. To do the top stitching, I do 4.5 for my stitch length. Again, right sides together, pull up, fold down, making sure I can feel that zipper tape edge in there. Position it down to mark that. Cut that. And do the same thing again, knowing that you have enough on that back. And again. Top stitching, so I gotta switch my stitch length. Again, I'm making sure I back stitch. And that back stitching doesn't show because once you stitch the zipper tape, it covers that back stitching. So that's why I try to do it at the beginning and at the end and not exceed myself too much from it. There we go. So that's done. Now we're gonna put that on the trash. We're gonna take our pieces and we're gonna mark on our side where the zipper is gonna go 3/4 of an inch on each side. There we go. So we're marking 3/4 of an inch on each side on all the pieces. But pretty much preferably the outer pieces, because once you have it on the outer piece, the lining, you just match it up. Okay, so you have that. And we're going to position okay, hold on, because my dog wants to come in. Let him in and come back. Okay, I got them in. And I was going to put my zipper, but I almost forgot that I need to attach my straps. In this thing, I'm going to try, I don't know how that's going to go. Again, if you see this, it's because it worked. You know that we quilted this. So I'm going to use those stitching lines which are supposed to be really centered, because we folded in half and then we folded in half again to do our stitching. So I'm going to just use those as a guideline for my straps, and I'm going to extend my straps about 1 inch because I want it when they fold in, I'm going to put rivets to hold them in place. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to extend mine 3/4 of an inch. Let me see if that's 3/4. You know what? I'm going to do the whole inch. Okay, extend your strap 1 whole inch besides that edge. And you're going to baste it in place. Again, this is experimental. So we will see how this goes. Okay, and then do exactly the same. Make sure your strap is not twisted. I like to have my raw edge, the side that has my raw edge through the inside. So it's up to you. I'm gonna extend my other one 1 whole inch, and it is on the outside of that stitching line. I'm gonna show you how it looks. We don't need to have it just enough so it doesn't move. Okay, so you see my stitching line here and my stitching line here. My strap is on the outside, okay, of that stitching line, not inside, on the outside of that stitching line. That's what I put my strap. Now I'm going to put my zipper tape right sides together, making sure you center it. And clip it in place. Again, you can baste this. We're going to do that to make sure this doesn't move at all. So basically you are encasing your strap between the zipper tape and the outer piece, okay? So once you do that, hi, hold on a second. That was my husband that came in to say hi, because he had just come home from work. Okay, so I'm just marking the center of my zipper tape, just because I know I left you with me almost basting that, but I took it out because I did my marking. This is so you know that things happen and you don't have to be perfect. I marked these lines at 3/4 of an inch just because I thought my zipper was gonna hit those lines, but my zipper, it's a tad bit longer and I don't think that's gonna be any trouble. But I do want it to be center. I don't mind if it's a little bit longer than those markings, but I wanted it to be center. So I'm marking the center and matching it up with my center line here, with my center stitch line. So that's why I took it out. And I'm telling you, because if you decide to make this and then it doesn't match, you're gonna be like, oops, I'm doing something wrong. You're not doing something wrong. You're just doing something that I did wrong, okay? So I'm the one that made the mistake, but I am telling you, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Okay, so we're gonna baste that in place. And this is the first time I attach a zipper kind of wanted to gather in there. I don't know why. First time is doing this to me, my machine. Kind of gathering. This is the first time that I'm attaching a handle in between my zipper. So if it doesn't work, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to blame it on you. What else can I do? So we are going to put, after we do that, we're going to put our lining piece in it. And I'm telling you, I am trying to think good thoughts and pray that this goes well. Because this was me, like, I want to make something. But after I decided I was going to make something, I'm like, let me record it and see, you know, if I can make a tutorial of it or whatever it is that I'm making. So we're going to stitch this at 1/4 inch. And let us hope that this goes well. I reached my zipper pull, so I'm moving it out of the way. And we'll see how this one went. We're gonna see how that strap looks. We're gonna do some top stitching now. This is gonna be cute. Oh my goodness, look at how cute it is. My strap is just trapped in there. I'm liking it. So I'm just gonna get my lining out of the way, and I'm only gonna top stitch the top of my bag, the front of my bag, my outer piece, and I'm gonna make sure the seam allowance is towards my outer piece. I'm gonna switch the stitch length to 4.5. I am not gonna lie, this is cute. This is actually really cute. Did I just run out of bobbin thread? No, my machine got a little bit of technical difficulties in here. Just throwing this back in. There we go. I'm probably running out of... Okay, so you see this excess here. I'm going to put a rivet in there. I can feel it through the outside. So what I'm going to do to make my life easier is I'm going to measure. Yeah, I can feel it. So I'm going to measure 1/2 inch. Should I? Yeah. I'm going to measure 1/2 inch from the fold of my fabric. And I'm kind of going to center my ruler here so it's in the middle. But on that 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to put a dot. And I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to center my ruler. Put a 1/2 inch. Making sure that is 1/2 inch. And I'm going to put a dot. And I'm going to make a hole in there, making sure I grab my strap on the back, because that strap is going to go in. Okay, making sure I hold my strap. I'm going to reach that dot. There we go. And we're going to put a rivet in there. I'm looking for the rivet that I need. Okay. You'll see how cute this is gonna turn out. We are just going to put that in there and snap it. I'm gonna save this in here for the other side. Okay. So I'm gonna set these up over here. Which I need to change that. Okay, I'm gonna set these up, press them up, and then we're gonna do the other side. Let me just do that and come back. So I went ahead and I put in the same way my other side, my back, and I'm going to top stitch it now. But I want to show you again one more thing, how off I was on that marking. It was just by a tiny bit on each side. So probably maybe was that my zipper ends, my tabs were not as tight to the end of the zipper tape, but just know that there's a little bit of discrepancy right there. So we're going to top stitch that side. I don't know why I'm so happy about this. It's just it is just a lunchbox, but now I'm thinking that this could look so cute sewn this way in a bigger bag. Okay, so now you're going to have something that looks like this. Ta-da-da-da. Okay, so basically you have your front and your back, and you have the two lining pieces, and you have, of course, this zipper pocket in between. I'm using waterproof canvas as a lining because I thought, you know what, it's even better to have it if you're going to have anything cold, or that's going to help. But I really love how the handles look in the middle between the zipper. That's pretty cute. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my rivets on the back. I took advantage and put my plate as well. So I'm going to do the rivet thing for the back. So this is not like hanging like that, and it's secure just like this one's. And I'll come back. We are back. The moment of truth has come. We are going to clip this, and we are going to stitch everything but the bottom of the lining. We're going to be stitching this at a 3/8 seam allowance. So what I'm doing is just making sure my ends match my side seams match. And while I'm doing this, can you imagine this bag being bigger? Like, you do exactly the same thing that I'm doing, but you cut, you know, I started with what? 2 squares, right? Measuring 12 by 10.5, correct? So imagine this, I don't know, like 20 inches wide by, I don't know, 14 inches tall, or 16 inches wide by 12 inches or 13 inches tall. Like, you know, you can cut it any size you want to get it bigger, or you can get it smaller. You can get like a tiny tote thing. And you can add the zipper that I added on the outside. You can do exactly the same thing to do a zipper on the lining inside. So when you open the bag, you have a zipper pocket in the inside. You can do a lot, like the same thing, bigger. You can, instead of attach your handles like this, you can attach them on the outside before you do anything else. Okay, so I'm gonna stitch 3/8 of an inch on the bottom, 3/8 of an inch on the sides, and I'm gonna just do, because I need to box this in, I need to have some sort of stitching on the bottom. So I'm gonna do probably 3/4 of an inch stitch in here and over here as well, and leave that bottom open. So I'm gonna do it now. I'll show you how that looks. I'm curious to see how this one is gonna go. I probably will run out of bobbin thread very soon. I'm just grateful that I didn't run out. When I was doing my top stitching. On my side seam here, I'm going a little bit more on my lining. I'm going a little bit more than 3/8 of an inch, and I'm kind of tapering in to that 3/8 of an inch on my side, because I want my lining to be a little bit fit. And I'm fighting there. Oops, sorry, I didn't realize I was moving you. But I'm having, so basically on my outer piece, I'm making sure I have that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, but on my lining, I'm getting a little bit in. But however, I got in this side, I gotta do it in here as well, because this square needs to be exactly the same size on each end. Okay, so whatever you take in here, you take in this corner. So I'm gonna stitch this side. Again, 3/8 of an inch. I'm on my outer side, I'm on my outer piece, so I'm doing my 3/8 of an inch. And now that I'm hitting my lining, I can go in and stitch a bit more. I don't want to move you again. Okay. This is a little tiny bit more than 3/8. Wonder knowing when that bobbin is gonna run out of thread. And then over here, I need to stitch that bottom, like I said, just a tiny bit. I'm gonna go maybe a quarter, 3/4 of an inch in, or maybe the inch. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. Birding this bag, hopefully. Yeah, I think I did like a whole inch in there. And again, I'm gonna go a little bit in. That's it. That's as far as I go. So now we have those corners that we got a box, right? I'm gonna put my hand in here, make sure my zipper is all open. I think it is. Yeah. I'm gonna reach in here and I'm gonna match these two seams. This needs to match. That's why these squares need to be really like on point matching. The better these squares are cut, the better they're gonna match. So I'm gonna do that to the other side as well. Matching it. And I'm gonna do that as well on my lining piece. We're getting to the moment that we need to bird our back. And see, that's why you need to stitch that little bit on the bottom, because you need that closed to be able to match your sides and box those corners. I'm gonna do that there. And now we just need to stitch that at 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna do that flat. If you have an industrial and you don't have the markings on the plate, you can put a piece of tape like I have here. My plates have the markings, but it doesn't have the 3/8 of an inch mark. So I did those with tape. And they work fine. So you're gonna stitch, making sure you go from end to end. And you're gonna make sure you stitch at 3/8 of an inch. Making sure I have this whole thing open and straight. If you have still doubts by the end of this video, because I know I didn't do it like in a really nice order, please comment below. Or if there is something that I did on the video that you really want to see again, like to understand better what I did, please let me know in the comments below, and I can do another video with that, with only that technique, or on my next video I make sure I explain better, because again, I'm still kind of new at this thing. It's not the same when you teach in person when to teach on a video. It's so different. Okay, so this is my last end, my last corner, and I'm just going to trim that excess that I have in all four corners. Actually gonna put it there in my trash can. Okay, so the moment of truth has come. We are going to bird this thing. Hopefully, it comes out okay. Birthing is the process that you need to have the most patience with, because birthing is not for the faint of heart. I'm telling you. Okay, so we are going to press out bottom corners out. Make sure we have those side seams nice and neat. This is for what I want this thing. This is gonna be perfect. Trust me. Okay, I'm pushing out my sides for my zipper on both ends. And if you cannot do it with the nail, you don't have to. Just use one of these and push those corners out. Do it first with this end and then use this one carefully. Ask me how I know this. There we go. Making sure those are out. Okay, it looks good. Let me get these out just because I want to make sure I stitch that bottom. Now we gotta stitch that close. Okay, and one of the things that you need to pay attention is, you see how bubbled this is? You need to make sure you press it down to get that air out of the bag. I'm going to add a label, and I'm going to add the that you look pretty today. That way when I'm having my lunch and I open this thing, it's a little bit of a encouragement words in there for me. From me to me. Okay, so we're going to close this. I'm going to make sure I start there. I make sure I press this. Move my clip, put my little sticker in or label. that will be it. Last thing I do before turning it in is melting those threads at the beginning and at the end. And this is it. Okay, this is a quick pouch to make. It's just obviously I added a zipper, but imagine if you don't add that zipper pocket on the front, it's quicker. And also, okay, I really like this. And also I did things that I never done before, which are those straps, but I think they were perfect for what I needed. I didn't need to have fancy straps. This is cute. I can carry my lunch in here, put it in the car, and it's so cute. I can open this thing, put my eating stuff, like I still can't get a name for the, is it cutlery stuff? No, it's well, the fork, the spoon, the knife, whatever whatever it is called. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So, but that's it. That's a simple. One thing that I wanted to talk about, like I was talking now at the end of the video, is as simple as getting 2 squares. Cut those boxes on the bottom. Another thing, I cut mine 2 by 2 because I cut my squares 2 by 2. Those boxes that I did at the bottom, this measures 4 inches wide. This is 4 inches wide from end to end here, 4 inches wide. So if you are to cut those squares bigger, you're gonna get the bottom of your bag wider, like bigger on the bottom, okay? But the bigger it is on the bottom, the lower the bag is gonna get. Know what I mean? Like the bigger you make these squares and the bigger it opens, the more down the bag is gonna come, okay? The smaller they are, the taller the bag. I don't know if that makes sense. The more this is open, it's gonna get lower. If you cut them this 1 by 1, you might have them like maybe 2 inches on the bottom, but then the bag is gonna get taller, okay? And also it's gonna determine the shape of the bag. The bigger these things are, the squares, the more wide it's gonna be on the bottom, and the more angled it's gonna be, because it's gonna go like deeper in to get that width on the bottom. Get what I'm saying? So if you cut 2 bigger squares, let's say 16 by 14, you know, take into account that the sizes of your squares matter on that way. The box, you know, the bigger the box, the more lower the bag is gonna be, and the more spread out, like the more V shape she's gonna have. The smaller the squares, the more straight she's gonna be, and less big on the bottom. Get what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I wanted to say. Another one, you see how I put this zipper pocket on the side? Imagine making it this bigger and then putting a long, like a super big zipper pocket in the front. You have a big tote with a pocket in the front that you can use, and imagine doing that same thing on the inside, and then you have an inside zipper pocket. You know, it's about playing with what you have. But I hope you guys like the tutorial. See you next time.